49. Climate displacement. When the future began to move people, the prediction, what we thought. Long before climate change became a daily headline, a sobering forecast emerged. Global warming would force people to move. Rising seas would swallow coastlines. Drought would empty farmlands. Heat would make regions unlivable. The result wouldn't just be environmental damage, it would be mass displacement, social strain, and geopolitical tension. In this future, climate wasn't only about weather. It was about migration, borders, and stability. Standing in 1999, this prediction felt distant and abstract. Climate change was real, but its human consequences seemed decades away, problems for the far future, not the near present. Why this prediction made sense in 1999? The scientific logic was already clear. By the 1990s, global temperatures were rising measurably. Sea level rise was documented. Climate models showed accelerating impact. Vulnerable regions were well mapped. What remained uncertain was timing. Would displacement arrive suddenly or creep forward slowly? Would it stay local or cascade globally? This belief fit the Millennium-era paradox perfectly. Optimism about technology paired with anxiety about unintended consequences. Progress promised abundance, but it also stressed natural systems in unfamiliar ways. For younger readers today, it's important to note how non-urgent this felt in 1999. Climate change was discussed in conferences and books, not in evacuation plans or immigration debates. The future still felt optional. Who said it, and where? One of the earliest and most prominent voices linking climate change to human displacement was Al Gore, particularly in his 1992 book Earth in the Balance. Gore argued that environmental degradation would destabilize societies, undermine economies, and trigger migration pressures. Climate change, in his framing, was not just an ecological issue, it was a civilizational one. At the time, these warnings were often received as earnest but alarmist. The idea that climate could reshape global demographics sounded speculative. In hindsight, it reads as early systems thinking. What actually happened 2000 to 2025? Climate displacement did not arrive as a single global event, but it began everywhere, unevenly. Over the first quarter of the 21st century, coastal erosion intensified, extreme weather events increased, agricultural zones shifted, water stress displaced communities. People moved, not always across borders but within them. Rural populations relocated to cities. Coastal residents retreated inland. Disaster recovery blurred into permanent relocation. By the 2020s, climate was no longer a background variable. It actively shaped migration, housing markets, insurance, and national planning. While not yet the dominant driver of global migration, it became a persistent amplifier of instability. By 2025, climate displacement was measurable, visible, and accelerating, though still unfolding. Verdict. Status. In progress. Climate-driven displacement is occurring and increasing. While it has not yet reached the scale of the most dire predictions, the underlying dynamics are active, documented, and intensifying. Why it played out this way? The key misunderstanding was expecting sudden catastrophe instead of cumulative pressure. Climate displacement doesn't announce itself with a single trigger. It builds through repeated stress, storms, heat, crop failure, until staying becomes untenable. There was also a policy lag. Even when risks were known, adaptation and mitigation moved slowly. Infrastructure, zoning, and migration frameworks weren't designed for gradual environmental retreat. The future didn't arrive all at once. It leaked in. What this prediction teaches us about the future. This case underscores a difficult forecasting truth. The most disruptive changes are often the least dramatic at first. Climate displacement advances quietly, through insurance premiums, housing decisions, and local relocation, before it ever reaches headlines about refugees. In 1999, climate calamity sounded like distant alarm. In 2026, it sounds like logistics. The future delivered warning signs, and the bill is still accruing. One sentence takeaway. Climate change didn't just alter the planet, it began rearranging where people can live.